Hello, good afternoon, good evening, good morning. As always, or as often, Małgorzata Gryz welcoming you all, our community. More than 70 people live today with us from different parts of the globe at our closing year webinar, which will then be podcasted. And I'm really super happy to announce that today we will focus on the personal and organization resilience, how to adapt, thrive through challenges to stay strong and continue your journey. With me today, two exceptional leaders, business consultants, and the people who've been serving for many as the role models in building their own resilience and helping others and organizations to build the one. Let me welcome warmly Magda Taczanowska, the CEO of Świecąc, the business consultant, remarkable business leader with more than 3 decades of her business and people experience in the top IT and tech companies. Magda has been serving for many as both women and men, as the role model in building resilient, empathical, very successful business organizations. And she's been helping many people, including me and a couple of other friends and colleagues, in our journeys to build the strength and resilience in myself or ourselves. Magda has been a very strong business consultant, focusing on leadership and organization health in the last many years as well. So Magda, welcome. Wonderful to have you with us.
Thank you. Thank you, Małgorzata, for having me, and good afternoon, good evening, good morning to everyone.
The second, last but not the least, Maciej Żylewicz, the business consultant, one of the co-shapers and leaders of Mindgram, the company which was and is still continuing their journey in organization and mental health, helping people and organizations to build their well-being. A coach, a mentor, and the business consultant who's been helping many organizations with leadership topics and also building the resilience in the leadership styles and organizations. Maciej is bringing 20 plus years of his business experience. So super happy, Maciej, to have you with us. Welcome. And we open up our discussion.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and welcome to everybody. It's an honor and a pleasure to be with everybody in here tonight. Thank you.
One thing which we will not be talking about today is the security and security resilience in the organizations. This topic will be touched by the Strong Women in IT next year during one of our opening year webinars. Maćku, Magdo, or Magda and Maćku, what is really your definition of resilience? What does it really mean for each and every of you? Magda, I will start with you.
Yeah, women's first, I guess.
Of course.
I was expecting that. Okay, for me, resilience is the ability to bounce back from hardship, from loss, from trauma, but ability to bounce back in a sustainable and repeatable way, with tons of kindness towards yourself. Because as you know, I'm a great believer in kindness. I think that if anything, kindness will save the world. But first you have to be kind to yourself. Mm-hmm. So you have to be telling yourself that what happened to you, what happened, and you will be your best friend to help yourself to bounce back. So the resilience is not going and draining your energy and draining all your strength, is helping you to bounce back and stay connected to yourself. So you talk to yourself like you talk to your friend, not like we tend to. Well, I don't know about you, Małgosia. I tend to have this thought, yes, fault, and how have you could have done it, and yeah, no. You wouldn't say, you wouldn't tell it to the friend. So be your best friend in the times of hardship, and hold your own hand and bounce back. This is what resilience is for me. And of course, resilience for me is not only mental, it's physical. You have to take care of your physical well-being in order to be resilient. Yeah. So all these things which we know about and we don't always do, like take care of what you're eating, stay hydrated, get enough sleep, are important. Because if you are exhausted physically, you just have no power to be resilient. Yeah.
Thanks, Magda. It's I think it's a beautiful definition, and anytime we discuss or we solve some, or we were solving some business issues together, or talking about the personal things, this context of being kind to yourself was so much connected, in my head. If I listen to you, look at you, and it's helped me a lot personally as well, to also take care for myself before I start taking for others. So thanks so much for this. Maćku, what's on your mind? What is resilience for you?
All right. Well, I'll share a bit of a story with you. So I was in an executive retreat with some of the tech leaders, and I always try to make sure that we do something out of the comfort zone. And in one of those sessions, we invited actually a Tai Chi teacher to do a class with us, and he showed me something that totally blew my mind. So I'm going to share it with you. So we did this very simple experiment. As you stand, the other person uses their force to gently hit you on the shoulder. And the most common reactions in people are either stand firm, so get yourself in a defensive position, and it really hurts. I mean, if the blow was stronger, it actually can break you. The other group of the people receives the blow and they fall because the force of the blow just sends them spinning. But what the Tai Chi teacher said is try to use that incoming strength to gain your own strength. So align yourself in a way that you slightly fall to the back only to gain more strength in the other part of your body. And I believe, and I think it complements what Magda had said, is that the strength is not about creating a shield around you and being able to withstand a lot. It's about the ability to use the event that is happening to turn it into something beneficial, generate strength, generate energy, make yourself better, improve yourself, or just survive, but survive without all those ill effects. So resilience to me is finding that right alignment to the situation that will allow you to actually use it to your opportunity. And we'll probably talk about it. Most of the situations can be handled this way. Not all of them can be handled this way.
That's so true, Maciek. And when I listen to you, you exactly, even if you use the different words, phrase it differently, you exactly built on Magda's point of view, right? Two super experienced people, very resilient ones with their journeys, their backpack of experience, stating the same. And you both state, now Maciek stress it, Magda was mentioning before, bounce back, build on it. Take it as a gift, right? And do something positive out of this difficult experience sometimes. Both of you are also talking about this sustainable context, the systemic context. And I think it's so important, which is not easy to find at all. Going smoothly through your statements, and Justyna is reminding us, on me as a host, as a moderator, guys, don't be shy. Ask your questions, give your comments. That's more than welcome. Even if the topic I know is not super easy, but I think it's super important these days, which gives me a great flow motion. We are living in the super turbulent times. many wars, one very close to the country of our living, Ukrainians suffering from the war, refugees globally, the conflicts without resolutions lasting long, turbulent economy at times, sometimes even lack of true leadership or deficits of leadership. You've been going through all of this, helping many to go through it. What would be your own tip? As Magda stated, be good to yourself, and Maciej expressed a very similar thing. What are your tips to stay strong despite difficulties? What are you doing on a daily basis to keep the strength out of difficulties and help yourself and others to minimize the cost of the difficulties? Now I would start with Maciej, please.
Oh, thank you very much. So I'm actually going to subvert a little what you said, because my first tip is actually don't try to be always strong. We are, programmed from the day we are born to be strong. Like you might be, and that applies to pretty much everybody, but there are some groups even more prone to this than the others. So you are told you have to be strong. Don't cry. You have to be strong. In many contexts, maybe this is not the best place to say it, but you are being told, be a
women
man,
in IT, right?
be a man. Yeah, don't cry. So we are programmed to be strong. I believe that the first thing is that you have to admit that there will be moments that you are not wanting to be strong. It does not mean you're not going to get back and bounce back, but admitting your own vulnerability is actually a great reality check. Because metaphorically, we are very often, especially in business, running with a broken leg, just aggravating the injury. Whereas we should have stopped, gotten a treatment, helped ourselves, and then resumed the run. So my first advice is, don't try to be strong even if the world is telling you to be strong. Be realistic about the state in which you are in. And my second advice would be strategic about assessing the levels of your resources. Because when you're in the thick of it, when you're in the stress, when you're in tumultuous changes happening around you, what you certainly don't want to do is to rely on your judgment, because quite frankly, you very often will be lying to yourself. You'll be lying to yourself, oh, it's another just 2 months more, or yeah, I have energy to continue. Have either somebody as a sounding board or have a way of assessing what is your current state in a very, very honest way, and saying, okay, I need to do this in order to regain some energy. But when you're in it, you have very limited abilities to actually judge properly what's going on with you. So
Maciej,
those
may I
are the two
stop you
things.
for a while and ask
Yeah.
you one more question to what you stated? Sometimes if you are in your own case, let's call it this way, it's difficult to be an objective judge.
Yeah.
So how to stay relatively objective to myself if I feel this through my whole body, my heart, my mind? Is there anything you believe we could do to ourselves to stay as objective as possible in this painful situation?
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually will talk about something that I practice. Two things. First thing is ask the people around you, do they see that you're still the same person that you were some time ago, or is something changing? Maybe you have less time for them. Maybe you're more prone to like morning explosions when you are, trying to find the car keys or something. So, people will, the people that love you will tell you generally what's going on with you in a way that might change your way of looking at the things. That's one. But the second thing is what I'm doing is once every 6 months, I'm sitting down. I got a list of 60 questions that basically ask me about the levels of my reserves, of my fuel. And they cover the aspects that Magda already mentioned. So physical health, but also mental health, social health, and so on and so on. And I just go through them, and there are 0-1 questions. So it's either yes or no. And if I see that objectively my score is getting lower, this should be a reality check for me. And again, this is very arbitral in a way, but it works because it's a ritual that you just know that you have to be very, very honest with yourself. So rituals as well can be a good way of helping yourself.
Thanks a lot. Magda, what's on your mind? What advice would you give?
I totally wanted to start with what Maciej said, so
Sorry.
I'll say it but differently. Okay, so the resilience involves the ability to manage and regulate your emotions. And in order to manage your emotions, you have to be able to recognize them, to name them, to say how you feel in the very moment. So this is the practical exercise you can do every day. Is it, how do I feel? And if you, like, in 3 consecutive days answer to this question by pissed off, well, go and check with your friend what can be other feeling you are feeling. So sometimes admitting that you don't feel as strong as people expect you to be is super hard. I know, because I've done it. Yeah, because the people wanted to see me as this Wonder Woman, and sometimes the strength of Wonder Woman was going away. There is a story about Hawaiian goddess who got defeated, who lost her battle with the other goddess. They were fighting and she lost. And she then, she came from death, stronger than she was. So it also gives me this idea that sometimes to do the reset, we have to, lay down and admit we cannot move. And this is super hard, almost as hard. Well, no, the second one is harder, as asking for help. Saying the words, please help me, is probably, in the current times, the bravest thing you can do, because we are not used to do it. We are living in a super individualistic culture, in the late capitalism, which tells us that we can do anything if we spend enough money to do that, of course. So we've forgotten that we need community. We need people around it. We are made believe that we can do everything on our own. We cannot. We just cannot. We have to ask for help when we need it.
That's so touchy, Magda. That's so touchy. Both of you, the messages which you are bringing, is like opening, I'm sure, the hearts and minds of many. It so much resonates with me. I remember the devastating moment in my life 6.5 years ago, when I felt I am strong, people love my energy, I love my energy. I lost my beloved one. It was difficult for me to say, okay, my energy is drawn, as Maciej stated before. And I was a bit reluctant at the beginning to ask for help. Thanks to the environment, the sounding board. I love the statement of Maciej. And also thanks to the discussions to a couple of my friends and my husband, including Magda, who is present here. I said, I need to get help. Yeah. Because if I want to sustain my energy for me, the company I lead, the people who trust me and myself, I need to find the proper person who will understand my issue and will help me to go stronger from the moment where I don't feel so strong. So what I'm taking from you is be honest with yourself or to yourself. Have your sounding board, whether these are your beloved ones at home or your friends or someone you trust at work. Ask them, do your reflection. Magda says, ask yourself a question every day. Maciej says you might do it often. You might do it at least based on the 6 questions, once at least per 6 months, but do it as your rigor, as your rhythm of the business. So true. And I think this context of being a superpower hero who's got the recipe for everything, the energy to do everything, I think is so difficult these days and in the times that we live in. Thank you for naming the things in the very touchy and very true way. I really, really appreciate. And I didn't expect anything else from you, but I'm grateful for this openness, even if it's not difficult, if it's not easy and it provokes us to take some necessary actions. Now we focus on the business environment. You've been working with leaders in many parts of the globe, with Europeans, with Americans, with Asians. You've been serving, helping them to find their way. So my question for you or to you now is, what's your advice to the leaders and the managers? The first thing they should do to take care for themselves in the business environment they lead. What would be the first thing you would encourage them to do towards themselves first in terms of resilience? Magda.
Oh, remember that you are human. Dear CEO, dear Mr. President, or Mrs. President, sorry, Mrs. President, remember you are still human. You still have need for sleep. Yes, it is not that, and that you can go with 4 hours and sleep a night. You cannot. I'm sorry. Every single research I saw says that 4 hours a night is too little. You still need to move your body. Sitting for 16 hours at your computer is not efficient. It's just not efficient. You don't leave any space for creativity for yourself. Yeah, and you are creating a really bad example for your people. So yeah, the first thing would be remember that you are human. And I know the higher up you go, the harder it is. Yeah, because you know, everybody comes to you for advice. You're expected to know things. You're expected to know what to do. Yeah, and it is harder and harder the higher you go. I know, I've been there. Yeah. But you're still human, and you have to take care of yourself first, like this. But still working. You know, everyone knows this analogy to the plane, but it is still more probably than ever relevant. Yeah, you have to put your mask, the oxygen mask, to yourself first before you can take care of your people, because if you are empty, you are not going to put any energy in your people.
Thanks. I love the analogy. Even if everyone, as you say, knows it, it's great to remind ourselves.
Yeah, it's great. When people on the plane tell us that, we say, yes, that makes sense. We don't do it in real life.
But then we don't practice in real life. Stay human and know that you are human first, and give the oxygen mask first to yourself.
And without you being in the good state and you taking care of yourself, eventually you will not be able to take care and lead your people.
Maćku, what's your story here?
This one is tough because leaders, you poor leaders. As Magda was saying, is that actually the process is the higher you get in the structure, the more lonely you are, and the more people treat everything that you say as a certain truth that needs to be followed, and question you maybe less and less.
Yeah.
So actually the first thing you want to do is I say open up the organization to the feedback, because you want the people to tell you, hey, you're slipping up recently, maybe you need some sleep. Hey, maybe you should really take some holidays, because we really can manage this company without you for 2 weeks. So open up the communication, and you can only do it if you actually take feedback from people and show them that you do something about it. Otherwise, you're going to be very lonely, and people will be only saying the things you want to hear, and therefore reinforcing the concept that you're doing okay, and you might be not doing so okay. You just don't see it. If I may quote, there's an amazing responsibility on the leaders. I just looked up, it's in the APA work and the well-being survey. And there's this one piece of data that really puzzles me and is quite eye-opening. So when you ask people, do you think your organization is a well-being organization that promotes resilience, mental health, and so on and so on? If the leader is a representation of these things, 73% of the people say, yes, our organization is that. If the leader is not, it's down to 11%. So we're currently losing over 60% just on the perceptions of the leader. Not your well-being strategies, not your yoga in the office. Nothing really matters but the person of the leader. So, hey, I just think there's a lot of responsibility riding on us, and we need to be open to feedback from others.
That's a weird thing. 73% you say in terms of perception. So much depends on the leadership style and how the leader, him or her, is being perceived by the audience, right?
Yeah, but I mean, if you look like you're falling asleep in the meetings, or you're constantly saying you don't have time for holidays, how are your people going to feel secure going on holidays?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I think if I look back, there were moments when I was working at 5 a.m. in the morning, sending an email which you provoke me to open up, sending an email which I could have sent at 8 a.m. No one would die from this. So show me at least one person, one leader who thinks about herself or himself to be accountable, who never made a mistake. But this context magic which you brought of the feedback, openness for feedback, is also an element of building resilience of the organization. Otherwise, you say that it might drop down based on the survey to 11%, right?
Yeah.
I think that's weird, and this data is really giving a food for thought. And now we are going down. You gave your advices, very practical ones and very touchy ones to the leaders. So now we are turning. I'm asking you to turn into the leadership shoes and share with me what could the leaders and managers do to their people to take care for their resilience, for their well-being, and their mental and maybe even physical health, as Magda stated. Of course, none of the leaders will force the people to sleep instead of gaming, for example. But all in all, the good example is being built in the company based on behavior. So, Maciek, what are the practical tips, ideas, tools you could suggest for the leaders and managers to use to help their people to build their resilience in the turbulent times?
Right. There's a whole slew of them. And I mentioned a little bit about it, but the first thing is definitely role modeling. And again, role modeling in a way that you're on a quest to make sure that this is your priority, taking care of yourself. and you're going to be failing on this quest. But this whole journey that the people see is sometimes enough. So, if you're really good about taking care of your physical well-being, then maybe you're not so good about your emotional well-being, but at least you're trying and you're setting certain example that this is always a work in progress. And again, people will model off this behavior. If you, and again, I'm going to look in your direction, if you don't send the emails at 5 a.m., then you're not establishing this as a benchmark, because people might consider that it's okay in this organization to also send the emails at 5 a.m. Why not 4 a.m. and so on and so on. So that's one thing. The second thing is, don't over rely on band-aids. So very often what I see in business right now is that well-being and taking care of your resilience is basically done through HR band-aids. So we usually buy stuff for people and say, here's the well-being, use it. We buy platforms. And again, hey, I was creating a platform, but just having a platform means absolutely nothing if you don't make this cultural shift to using it. Giving your people access to therapy, psychologists doesn't mean anything unless you establish that this is something that people should use, not always when they're at the critical stage of their life, but also as an early prevention tool or even growth tool. So don't use those band-aids just by saying, here's the bag, our company is wealthy, here's everything you can use. Don't complain that you're having issues.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I'd say is, create a healthy environment for your relationships with the goals that you have to deliver. Because sometimes if you're a leader, a manager, you get pressure from all the directions, and you start trying to put too much effort into creating different narratives that don't always match. So be very transparent about the situation in which your company is, and work around this. Case from right now, when a lot of the markets and industries are struggling, I've seen that the ones that struggle the most are the people that were building this propaganda of success within the company. And that is currently coming back to bite them in a certain part of the body, because they didn't teach their people that after the good times, the slim times come. It's like in that La Fontaine fairy tale, right? About the ant and the grasshopper, is that you have to teach people that you also gather the resources during the summer, because the winter will come. We just don't know when it comes. So be very realistic in the narratives you're building. And that's one of the best resilience tools, because when the tough times come, we knew about them. We are ready for them.
Transparency, avoiding the propaganda narrative. Otherwise, you stop sharing. If the bad news appear, you stop sharing, right? Because you don't want to come up with real data points, and people start asking questions. They've been sharing the company results with us for many years. Finally, they stopped. No one knows why. At the same time, as you say, you are bringing or sending to home offices or sponsoring in the office the yoga mats for the people, while the narrative doesn't work. People are smart. So powerful, Maciek. This context of transparency, going through the good and bad times, preparing, being in the great times, preparing for the bad times. It's so smart. And not so easy.
Nothing we're talking about is easy.
Definitely easier said than done.
Magda.
I totally agree with everything which Maciej said. I would expand on the last point. I go back to basics. Or review the basics, because each company have the mission, have the vision, and have the values. Most of them do, and make sure that people understand what this mission and vision is about, and they commit to it. That there is something which is making them want and come and work for this company. Don't take it for granted, even if this comes from headquarters, and headquarters said so. Don't take it for granted. There is always something, these missions and visions, they are basically about something good for the world. So be transparent in your communication, most of all, because this is the only way you are going to create a predictable, hence safe environment. Yeah, people will not thrive in the company where they feel insecure and that they can lose their job anytime. There are bad times, there are good times, but in the bad times, you also have to communicate transparently. And last but not least, if you have values, your company values, do make them count. Do define the set of behaviors which are supporting these values, which you will praise and you will celebrate together with your people. Make a narrative around it. It doesn't cost it costs less than whatever, Fruity Wednesdays or whatever they are called. Yeah. Is create a storytelling about it. Ask people to tell stories about what they've done, and they can be little tiny things. Yeah, just work on what you are having, but don't lose focus from making the work environment predictable for your people.
Guys, that's really amazing what you say, and I listen to you carefully. It's difficult even to challenge you, really, because
you can do it, Małgosia. We know you.
Because I really agree with every single word. That's I'm serious. You talk about transparency. You talk about the propaganda narrative, which then doesn't work in the difficult times. You talk about using the values, putting real behaviors behind them, showing the people that even little success can make a difference in the turbulent times. You really bring it from your own experience, and I'm sure that our audience will so much benefit from your experience. I'm even more happy than even a few weeks ago when we were talking about who might join us for this webinar. We knew that you would do a brilliant job, but I really hope that our community for whom we stay together and you offer your precious time will really appreciate what you share. And last but not the least, at least for today, because it's not my last word to you both, I promise, and I hope that you would love to get back one day. I know that time does not revert, but let's imagine you are 20 years younger. What advice would each of you give to a 20-year younger self in terms of starting your resilience journey at that moment? So imagine we have Magda and I are almost the same age, Maciej a bit younger, but not so much. Let's imagine we are in our 30s or close to 30s. What advice would we give to ourselves to be smarter and start smarter our journey in building our resilience? Maciej.
So since we're naming the dates, so it took me literally 46 years to wake up one day and call my client and say, you know what? I'm really sick today. I just can't do the job. I need to stay in the bed and get better. And there's also responsibility for what I will deliver with half of my brain frozen. And this was the first time I've ever done this, even though that maybe previously there were times where I should have done this. So my tip to my 20 years younger self is, in those things where you feel like the world will end because you will not deliver, actually fail in them and see that the world doesn't end, because you're usually working with great, smart, and very empathetic people. And hearing on the other end the reaction of a client that has to send the entire group home from the workshop that says, oh my, I'm so sorry, I hope you get better, and the world doesn't end, is one of the most relieving moments to know that you don't have to be the Superman all the time, even if it makes zero sense to try to be one in that situation. So fail early and embrace the consequences that are usually not as high as you would think that they would be.
Wow, so true. And on the other hand, so simple, but the blockades are so strong. I am a strong man. I always deliver upon commitments. I should go sick with my fever and deliver. That's really a great thing to hear from you, Maciek. Magda, what advice would you give to your youngest self?
I would say to myself, be yourself, honey. There is no point of comparing yourself to others and pretending that you are somebody else. Others are taken. You have you, and you can see what others are doing for reference, but compare yourself to yourself from a year ago and aim to be just a bit better, probably, a year forward. And it also concerns the resilience, because I don't know, you were upset about something for 2 days. Aim for 1 day, and this will be enough. But don't compare yourself. Don't look at somebody else and say, "Oh, these ones, they never take anything to themselves." It's not true. We don't know what is going on in the head of the other person. We should be working with ourselves because we are our best reference to achieve mastery.
That's such a powerful message. By the way, yesterday with a couple of people that I work with, I trust, we've been having a discussion. There were some comparisons, benchmarks with some others. And finally, in a certain moment, we asked ourselves a question: why should we do the same as they do? Why should we compare our emotion with the other emotion? We are completely different.
Yeah.
We have completely different style. But the first thing which comes sometimes to the mind, even of experienced people, is, benchmark is so great to do, so let's do the same as they did. Why should we do that?
Exactly.
That's but really this happens, I think, in our journey of building ourselves, our missions, our resilience, even in the minds of experienced people.
Of course, I still do it, and I catch myself on it, but I still, of course.
And I promise, last thing, before I sum up and we close for today. Knowing yourself today with all the experience and all of the gifts, intellectual ones that you gave to others over your past 20, 30 years, which would be the one thing which you would never give up today, you would never compromise on, if you think about your mental, physical health or well-being? Which would that be, Magda?
In work environment, working in a toxic environment. Working in a toxic environment with the boss who doesn't support me. I think it is the worst you can do to yourself. Yeah, there are the companies out there. Go and change. Yeah. Privately, I wouldn't cut on my sleep so badly as I was doing before. I stopped doing that, by the way.
Maćku, what you would never give up?
I am Team Magda here, because professionally, I think eliminating toxic people from environment, and if you can't eliminate them, considering whether you shouldn't move from there, because ask yourself, is it really worth it? you know, the world usually doesn't end if you move on. Maybe you'll actually open a new opportunity, but trying to believe that toxic people will change so that they're good to you is rarely happening. It's a fantasy. And privately, I'm team sleep as well, but I'll add on it, make sure that even if you're really tired, because work is a lot in our lives, that you maintain good social relationships, because this is what the science is saying, that we're going into the age of loneliness, and loneliness is going to be extremely deteriorating for your mental health as we age. Our friends move on, change their minds, die. So we need to have that social circle, because at some point it's difficult to grow it. And if you waste your 30s and 40s on not growing that circle, it might be difficult later on. So build your social ties.
I am your team, no doubt. People will really think that I invited you because I so much trust you, and we so much value your opinion. We do so much value your experience and opinion. But always in my life, business and private, the toxic environments or toxic leaders were the ones that I didn't even want to work for a moment. Sometimes it was not possible to stay there, even if you loved the people, the business, the environment, and you said, okay, enough is enough. So I think that's what both of you state with the building your social networks, quoting the title is also super important to avoid the loneliness. I really hope that all what we heard was very fruitful to our people, to the ones who are with us today. That's quite a crowd, and I hope they are still with us. This is not an easy topic. I think each of us needs a reflection afterwards. Magda, Maciek, Małgosia, 3M, by the way. That's quite amazing. Thank you so much on behalf of the Strong Women in IT. Thank you for your energy, your openness, your transparency, the fact that you decided to share, even if I know that you are super busy in December. I remember all of our discussions like 2 months ago. We've been booking everything.
Did Małgosia just disappear?
Oh, she did froze.
Oh, there she is. She came back.
So I think we closed. We were frozen for a while. But all in all, I want to thank you again for everything I experienced from you, and I hope all of our audiences experienced at least so much as I did. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And to building better resilience in 2025.
Yes.
And looking forward to a better year for everyone on the planet, which I think is important. With this, I want to thank our audiences. I want to thank everyone who is helping us to build a better and more inclusive world. On behalf of the Strong Women in IT, our founder and CEO Anita Kijanka, our analytics team headed by Justyna Burkhardt, a producer of our webinars and podcasts, our UX team, on our entire community, including our PR motion. I really want to thank you for being together this year, for your help, for your engagement, for sharing your knowledge, for building, again, I would stress it, a better and more inclusive world. And I also want to thank our partners who help us to go big, go global, to show that a diverse world is making a difference for us, our children. BNP Paribas, Play, UiPath, Hewlett-Packard, and Gesell, and so much more to come. Let me wish you a wonderful Christmas if you celebrate with your beloved ones. If it's not your celebration, let me wish you on behalf of our Strong Women in IT team a great New Year feast, wherever you are, and stay strong and resilient in 2025, which will be a super important year for our community, the year of our next report, Strong Women in IT 2025. Stay tuned and stay with us. All the best.